This is Fringe Sports' Dane half-rack functional trainer combo, and it's a very interesting option because they're doing some things a little differently than everyone else. Some of that's good, some choices I'm not in love with, but longtime viewers know I'm very critical in my reviews, which makes sense. This stuff isn't cheap, and they're reviews, not sales pitches, so subscribe for more self-righteous commentary. Alright, brutal honesty time. I'm going to put this up against a Rep PR 5000 with dual selectorized Athenas because it's the most logical comparison, and we've got a PR 5000 and have multiple Athena setups. But it's not a fair fight, and here's why. One, a PR 5000 Athena build like this costs more than a Dane, and we will do a price breakdown. Two, Fringe is doing a few things nobody else is. And three, I just think Rep's system is better overall, making this that awkward moment when I say this was sent for free for review. It's also that awkward moment when I tell you I've linked all the equipment we're about to talk about in the description, and if you use one of those links to purchase something, we'll get a small commission at no cost to you. So if you find our content useful and would like to support the channel, then please check those out. So what exactly is the Dane? It's their Osprey rack with a functional trainer integrated in. The Osprey is their 3x3 rack that uses 11 gauge steel and has 1-inch holes and 2-inch hole spacing. If those specs sound familiar, it's because it's their version of the PR 5000, Rogues Monster Rack, Titans Titan series. You get the idea. This is their biggest and best rack. Then you throw a functional trainer on it, low row footplate, lap pull down seat, and a bunch of storage options, and things get pretty interesting. And since this is an imported rack that's built to metric specs, other metric companies' attachments like Reps and Titans will fit on this. So if I don't like these sandwich J-cups, and I don't because the UHMW doesn't fully extend around the cup like it should, I can just put Reps or someone else's on it. Or I can put Fringe's lap pull down seat onto another rack because maybe you don't want to spend twice as much on Rogue seat or Reps Pegasus, even if they are better built and the Pegasus is the more versatile option. Typically, this is where I'd say these metric attachments don't always fit on American racks because of the subtle size difference in 3x3 tubing. But Fringe's tolerances are pretty loose, and while that's not a compliment, it does mean all of this stuff fits on my Rogue rack. Even the second hole on the spotter arms lines up because Fringe has purposely lengthened the slot to compensate for the difference in metric and customary measurements. So give Fringe props because not every company is so purposely compatible. I can even take all of these storage options and put them directly onto Rep's PR 5000 because both of the racks are 47 inches wide. I do like Rep's options better because the build quality is a little higher and they're priced similarly, and I say that owning all their in-rack options. The flat storage shelf, dumbbell shelf, and the ball and plate shelf, but Rep doesn't make pegboard like this, and I think this is brilliant because I'm always looking for more ways to store the logical amount of things I've acquired. But how well does the Dane actually work? Not the half rack portion, there's no issues there. You can bench, squat, rack pull, or do whatever off this. It's a quality power rack, which is why they back it with a lifetime warranty. The clear coat is gorgeous and it doesn't cost any more than their other finishes. The build quality on the rack itself is very good. But what about the cables, pulleys, attachments, and all the extras? That's where I find things a little hit or miss. Here's a few examples. These D handles are just your basic budget level handles, rubber grips and a plastic handle. Yet the spotter arms are actually pretty nice. I think they're very well done for the price. Here's another one. The top plate of the weight stack doesn't have a hole for the weight selector pin. So it just kind of dangles or sits there when you're using the lowest weight. But I actually like the trolley movement system better on the Dane than on the Ares or the Athena because rather than just kind of shoving some plastic inside the trolley so it doesn't scratch up your uprights, Fringe has a smoother and more robust system of nylon rollers with bearings, just like Rogue uses on their much higher end system. Which, by the way, we'll have reviews for their single and twin stack systems, so subscribe for those. That doesn't mean these trolleys are better in every way though. I prefer Rep's knurled handles, and once again, their overall build quality outside of the rollers is better, but this is a less expensive machine, so there's gonna be some give and take, and that's gonna kind of be the theme here. That being said, Fringe could upgrade a few things. If we look at their attachments, they're good overall. They've got UHMW on everything. They're all solid, but there's little things Fringe could tweak, like making it not feel so cramped and awkward to get your pin in this second hole on the back side of the seat because the cables are in the way back here. Where I think Fringe is a step behind is with the rest of the cable system. So we'll ignore prices for a second and just compare them straight up. Fringe differs from most others because they're using a 1-to-1 pulley ratio, which means you'll feel the full weight of these 160-pound stacks. Whereas with the more common 2-to-1 ratio, like on the Athena, you feel half the weight, meaning 20 pounds feels like 10. But there's pros and cons to each system, and also a few things I think Fringe has to improve on. Let's start with the pros. A 1-to-1 ratio means that this is cheaper to produce and ship because you don't need as many plates to get as much weight. An Athena has 170-pound stacks that you can upgrade to 220 pounds, but with the 2-to-1 ratio, it means it'll feel like 110 pounds. Now, I'm ignoring the plate-loaded option to make this comparison more equal, but a selectorized Athena with an upgraded stack and without the rack will cost you just over $2,100. The Dane, with its dual 160-pound stacks, costs $2,500. That includes the 4-post rack, spotter arms, sandwich J-cups, extension feet, and a landmine. So more weight felt and less expensive. Pretty tempting, right? Well, wait to hear the cons. With a 1-to-1 ratio, you have less cable travel. The weight trolley moves the exact distance you pull the handle, which, oops. Now you know what I mean by the thing not having a pin on the stack. But the cable travel hasn't really been a huge issue with these 89-inch tall uprights. The entire rack, by the way, is 93 inches tall. I've been able to do flies in pretty much every other exercise I've tried, but I will warn you, at 6 foot tall with an NBA wingspan, I have to position myself pretty carefully on rear delt flies and during lat pull downs, or I'll run out of cable. The bigger issue is in the weight increments. And while I'm gonna be pretty hard on Fringe here, they're not the only ones who aren't entirely accurate when labeling their stacks. The sticker here says this stack starts at 10 pounds, and we assume it's right. With the Dane, that first 10-pound plate is actually 15 pounds, and then the 20-pound plate is actually closer to 25, and so on. That added weight is from this first plate having this rod attached that you use to select your weights. Now, that's fine when it says 20 pounds and it's really 10, then I can impress my wife and kids, but the issue is my wife can't do delt raises at 15 pounds. It's too high of a starting weight for a lot of people, and that needs to be fixed. 15 pounds isn't a problem for me. I'm a real man. I can't even count that low. But if I'm doing flies at 25 pounds, I now have to jump to 35 to progress because of the 10-pound weight increments. Easy enough to solve, right? Just give us adder weights so we can do smaller jumps, but Fringe doesn't provide any. But I do know a guy who will gladly give you an affiliate link to some on Amazon if you'd like to remedy that for yourself while you wait for Fringe to fix it. And I know they will because I've already talked to them about it, but I still think it's a pretty big oversight. All right, one last note on the functional trainer before I give my final thoughts. The Dane isn't as smooth as the Athena. Is this nitpicking? Maybe. I tend to be overly critical in these reviews because I'd rather you know what you're getting than be mad at me for misrepresenting something, but we've got and have tested a ton of these systems, and I can feel the resistance in the cables on the Dane, and the reason for that might not be what you think. It's not the pulley ratio because dialed motion is 1-to-1 and is as smooth as anything I've tried. Many people would point to the pulleys and argue plastic versus aluminum, but Fringe is using aluminum pulleys, and it's actually the bearings that matter. They seemed to spin fine before I installed them, and I'm not gonna get into pulley and cable math because YouTube is all about watch time and engagement, and you'd fall asleep faster than my wife when I talk about gym equipment. But I think the issue may be that either these cables are a bit too thick, or maybe it's in the pulleys themselves. So where does that leave the Dane overall? Well, besides price, there's a few more important things that may factor heavily into your decision. For example, the footprint and build options. The Dane only comes in one height and requires 30-inch cross members, making it deeper than a 4-post Athena. Of course, a wall-mounted Athena is even shallower. That being said, if you're adding storage onto Rep, the depth difference is erased since their shelves come off the back of the rack. Rep does have more build options. There's the 80 and 93-inch heights, 4-post and 6-post, 5/8 holes or 1-inch. You get the idea. So why are you still considering a Dane? If you're making a similar build with Rep, it's about $3,300 versus $2,500 for the Dane. That's a little over 30% more. Yeah, you can finagle some things to get Rep a little lower, but that is a pretty good price difference. But let us know what you think. Is this a good option for Fringe, or maybe there's other systems like this you want to see us review? Thanks to our Patreons, links in the description, and thanks for watching.